Hello guys, welcome to the first video on Android MySQL database tutorial for beginners. In this video series, we are going to learn how we can create an Android app using MySQL database which is running on some web server. So let's see what are the requirements. First of all, we are going to need a MySQL database, and then we want to use a web server. Web server can be an Apache web server or Nginx web server or any other web server. We can also use a web server which is running on web hosting, right? Now we are also going to need a server-side scripting language. In our case, we are going to use PHP for server-side scripting. So this server-side scripting language will help us to query the database and cater the results. And the last, we are going to need Android development environment, which we are already using, which is Android Studio. Now there are different ways of getting these databases and web server and scripting language together. So for testing purposes, what we can do is we can download and install a WAMP server. And what is a WAMP server? WAMP server is a Windows web development environment, and it allows you to create a web application with Apache, PHP and MySQL database. Alongside, it's also going to give you PHP MyAdmin, which allows you to manage your database easily. Okay, so this is the first option which we can use for creating our first Android application for testing our application. Now for practical uses, we can use web hosting and a server which is running on some web hosting website like GoDaddy or HostGator or Google Hosting or any other hosting website. Okay, so what is web hosting? Web hosting is a service which you can use to host your website, and it generally comes with a file system and database integrated, so we can use this web hosting also. So I'm going to give you both examples using WAMP web server also and this web hosting also, so you can create online MySQL database using Android application, right? So first of all, we are going to create an application using WAMP server. It comes with MySQL, Apache and PHP MyAdmin. So let's download and install WAMP web server, and then we are going to write some PHP scripts to query our database, and then we are going to create our Android application. So first of all, open your favorite browser and search for WAMP server. And the first result most probably which will appear here will be from wampserver.com/en for English. Just click this link here, and this is the website from which you can install WAMP web server. So you can read more about WAMP server in here and how you can install it. So to download WAMP server executable file, you just need to click download section here, and in here you have two options. One is WAMP server for 32-bit operating system, and second is the WAMP server for 64-bit operating system. I have 64-bit operating system, so I'm going to click this option, right? Now in here you can read the prerequisite for installing the WAMP server. So you can read here, don't use previous WAMP server extension or add-ons. So you must not have any other or previous version of WAMP server when you are installing it, right? The second warning here, it says that this WAMP server requires Visual Studio 2012 VC11 executable file. So to install this web server, you need to have Visual Studio 2012 VC11, and to download and install it, you can just click this link. So first of all, I'm going to click this link to install this executable, and then we are going to install web server. So just click this Microsoft website link, and in here you can see we are going to install Visual C++ redistributable for Visual Studio 2012 update 4. Okay, select your language and click download, and in here we are going to check this first option, which is for 64-bit operating system. If you have 32-bit operating system, you can choose the second option, or if you have ARM device, you can choose the third option. So in our case, we are going to choose the first option. Then click next, and now the executable will be downloaded. You can see our executable is downloaded. So just click this executable file here, and then click run, and then just check this checkbox to agree with license terms and condition, and click install and click yes. And once Visual C++ distributable installation is complete, you can just close it, and once again you can open your favorite web browser and then search for web server, and then go to the same website, webserver.com, and then once again go to downloads here, and then once again click the web server option, and then this time you need to just click download directly. Okay, so it's going to download this web server executable, right? So we will wait for this web server executable to download. It's not a big file, it's just a 41.5 MB file, so it's going to download in a few seconds. Now once the download is complete, you can click this executable file for the web server, and you will be able to see this kind of web server setup. So just click next, and in here just click I accept the agreement and click next, and this is the location where web server will be installed. So c:/web will be the folder in which this web server will be installed. So just click next, and then you can create a desktop icon and quick launch icon also. So I'm going to create only desktop icon for that, and click next and click install. Now in here it's going to tell you or ask you, please choose your default web browser, and if you're not sure, just click open, or if you have some browser preferences, you can choose your browser from here. For example, I want to choose a Chrome web browser, so I'm going to go to my C folder, and in here I'm going to go to program files x86, and in here go to Google folder and go to Chrome application and choose chrome.exe and click open. Okay, and then it's going to finish installing, and you can see the web server icon here. Okay, and right now you just need to allow the access, so just click allow access here, and these are the PHP mail parameter which we are not going to use right now, so we will leave them as default and click next, and then just click finish, and please make sure that this option is checked to launch the web server, right? So just click finish and click yes, and it's going to launch your web server. And when your web server is ready, it's going to show you this green web server icon here, right? So you can just click this web server icon here, and you can see all these options here. Okay, so right now you can see PHP MyAdmin, Apache, MySQL folder, and other options for web server. So first of all, what we are going to do is we are going to use PHP MyAdmin to create our database. So let's create a database. Now you can see our PHP MyAdmin is open here, and by default it has some databases, right? So to create a database, what we can do here is we can click database and give the database name. So for example, we are creating a database for employees, so we can just write employee 101 and then just click create here, and you can see our database is created. So expand your database. Right now we don't have any table inside the database, so just click this employee database, and in create table option you can just create the table inside your database. So for example, we are going to create a table called employee data, and then we are going to provide the number of column it's going to contain. So for example, it's going to contain employee ID, name, surname, age, and username and password. So it's going to contain six columns. Just select six from here and then click go, and then it's going to give you this kind of wizard. First is our ID, second is the name, third is the surname, fourth column is the age, fifth column is the user name, and sixth column is the password. Okay, now ID is integer, name is text, surname data type is text also, age data type is int itself, username data type is text, and password data type is text. Okay, now we can also choose the primary key of this table. So ID is our primary key, so go to index here and then choose primary for ID. Okay, and this ID is also going to be auto incremented, so choose this option which says a underscore I, which is auto increment. Okay, and then once this is done, we can just save our table. Okay, so now our table contains six columns, which you can just click on this employee table, and then you can see all the columns inside the table, which is ID, name, surname, age, and username and password columns, right? So our database and database table is ready to use. Now, after creating our database, we need to write some PHP script to connect to the database and then fetch the data or insert the data using this PHP script. So now what we need to do is once again click this web server icon here, and this time click this www directory option here. Okay, so just click this option, www directory, which is going to open this vamp server slash www directory, and in here you can see by default index.php and test mysql.php here. Okay, so what we can do here is we can create one more file. You can just create a new file from here. It can be a PHP file. Okay, or you can open a notepad plus plus, and in here you can create a PHP file. So just open a new tab and then save it as a PHP file. So first is the connection PHP file. Okay, so I'm going to just choose the same folder from C. So C vamp, and then in the vamp we are going to go to www, and in here we are going to create a PHP file which is connection PHP. So I'm just going to write con.php. Okay, and then click save, and it's going to create this file which is con.php here. Okay, so now we can write some PHP script to connect to the database. So how we can write it? First of all, you just need to write this PHP initialization element, and in between this PHP element we are going to define some variables. And to define a variable in PHP you need a dollar symbol and then the variable name. So for example, first is our database name, and which is going to be equal to, we are going to define these names in a while. Just give a double quotation symbol right now. Okay, second is the MySQL username. So just write MySQL underscore username, okay, is equal to, leave it blank for now. And then third option is the MySQL password. Okay, so just write MySQL, for example, password. Okay, and the fourth option is the server name, right? So the fourth option is the server underscore name. Okay, so now first option is database name. So database which we have created is this database, which is employee 101, right? So just copy the name of the database and go to your PHP file and give the name of your database, right? The second option is the MySQL username. So we can see the MySQL username by going to the database. So just select the database and then see the privileges, and in here you can see the username is root and the privilege is all, right? So for the username we are going to choose root from here, and we are going to just paste here because our username is root. And the password, what is the password? So for example, we are going to use this local host as a server name, so we are going to just write local host, and in here we can just go to edit privileges and go down a little, and right now there is no password, or you can just select this option which is no password and then click go, and it's going to save your changes successfully. So our password is nothing or blank. Okay, now after that, to connect to our database we are going to create a variable called con, and we are going to initiate it with a method called mysqli connect. So just write mysqli underscore connect, and then inside the brackets just pass the four arguments. It takes four arguments. First is your server name, so just pass the first argument as server name. Second is the MySQL username, so second is this one. Third is MySQL password, so just copy this variable and paste it here. And the fourth is the database name, so database name is this one. Okay, so these are the four arguments, right? Now to check if the connection is successful or not, you can just give this condition if, and inside the if statement you can just write this variable con, which gives you the boolean result, and then inside these brackets, if the connection is successful you can echo something, so you can just write echo connection success. Otherwise, in the else condition just write else here, and then in the else condition you can echo connection not success. Okay, so just write echo connection not success. Okay, and then save everything, and then open your web browser, and in here you just need to first of all write localhost, which is going to give you this kind of web server options like this, right? And then whenever you give localhost slash con.php, which is our file name, if you remember inside our www folder we have this con.php file. So in your browser you just need to write localhost and then slash con.php, right? And when you click enter, it's going to give you connection success if your connection is successful. Otherwise it's going to give you connection not success. So let's edit our these values so we can know that it gives the right result. So I will change the database name to a wrong database name and save it, and once again refresh this localhost slash con.php, and now it's going to give you this error report, right? And it says connection not success. So we know that whenever we write the right parameters, it's going to give us the connection success, right? So right parameter gives the connection success. Okay, so in this way we know that our PHP is able to connect to the MySQL database, right? Now we are going to create one more PHP script. So I'm going to just create a new PHP script, and I'm going to save it as, for example, login.php. So just write login.php and click save here. And once again, I'm going to just give the PHP initialization tag. And in here, first of all, we are going to import this con.php, which gives us the connection, right? So we are going to require first of all, so just write require and then inside the double quote con.php, con.php, right? So this is going to import this connection, and then we are going to create two variables. One is user underscore name, which we are going to give in a while, and right now we are going to leave it as blank. And second variable name is the user password, so just write user pass and leave it as blank for now, because we are going to enter some data inside the table, and then we are going to check against it. Okay, and then we are going to prepare a query. So just write MySQL, for example, query. Okay, query for QRY, and in here we want to check if the username and password is correct. So we can just write select some element, or you can just write select asterisk, which is a wildcard for selecting everything from your database name. So our database table name is employee data, if you remember. This one is our database table name. So just copy the same name and paste it here, and then just write where clause, and in here we are going to check username and password, right? So we want to check the column name username and password, right? So where username like your username variable, so in the single quotes you just need to copy this variable and paste it here, and then just give a space here, and in here after that just write and then take your password column name, which is this one, and paste it here, and then once again single quote, and inside the single quote you just need to give your user pass variable name, which is this one, right? So I'm going to just minimize this a little and just paste it here. Okay, and don't forget to give this semicolon before this double quotes and after this double quote also. Now we are going to execute this query. So we want to create a variable called, for example, result is equal to, and then we need to call a method called my MySQL underscore query. So just write MySQL query, and as an argument we need two parameters. One is the connection variable, which we have here in connection.php, which is this one, and the second argument is our query, which is this one, right? And then we can evaluate our result using if condition. So just write if our query provide more than one line of result, then we know that username and password is correct. So just write my SQL I underscore num underscore rows, and then inside these bracket just pass this result variable. So just pass result, and we will evaluate if it's greater than 0, then we will say that our username and password is correct, right? So in the echo we can just echo login success, right? So just write login success, okay? And otherwise, if there is no result, we are going to echo that login is not successful. So just copy the same and just say login not success, okay? And save your code. Now in your database you don't have any data, so these two variables we have left right now blank, but let's insert some data inside our database. So just select your employee data table and select this option which says insert here. So just select this, and in here we are going to insert some data. So for example, employee ID 1, name is Tom, and the surname is, for example, something, and the age is 22, and username is 123, and password is 123, okay? And just click go. It's going to insert this username and password, so go to browse once again, and now you can see this data is added to your table. Employee ID 1, Tom, Ben, age is 22, and username and password is 123 and 123. So when we write here 123 123, and password is also 123, and save it, and in here I think this should be MySQL I query. So instead of MySQL query, you need to write MySQL I underscore query, right? And save your PHP file. Go to your web browser and just write localhost, and then this time you just need to write login.php, and now it's going to give you connection success and login success. That means your login is success using the PHP script. So right now we are done installing our web server, and we are done writing our PHP scripts. So in the next video, what we are going to do is we are going to create our Android app, and we are going to connect it to our MySQL database using this PHP script. So stay tuned and please rate, comment, subscribe, and bye for now.